Welcome to the First Baptist on Fifth podcast. I'm Olivia Blake, Ministry and Communications Assistant and host of the new podcast series, Ministry is Calling. Throughout this series, I'll be inviting folks from our church to share stories of how they answered this call as we celebrate and reflect on the various ways people engage in ministry work. Today, I am joined by Ryan Jones, beloved member and media contractor here at First on Fifth. But that's not all you do, right?
Yeah.
Tell us what all the different hats you wear.
How did I get on this side of the camera today?
Yeah, exactly. How'd you get on this side? Explain kind of beyond being behind the camera on Sunday mornings for us and helping run more of those external facing communications. What do you do?
So for people that don't know me at the church, I'm the guy that stands back in the back with the camera and runs around with the camera all day. But
he's allowed to be here. He's not a random.
But before that, I guess I can talk about like a little bit where I'm from and stuff like
Absolutely.
that. If that's okay. So I'm from this little town in Virginia, and we talked about this. It's Southwest Virginia, not West Virginia. Very two
distinct.
different things.
Yep.
Two different things. So I'm from Hayside, Virginia. This is what it's called. Very small town in rural Appalachia. I think in the town limits, it was probably like 500.
Oh, wow.
So like everybody lives like up the mountain and down the holler.
Okay.
Right. So I grew up on what is called Big Ridge. And so I grew up in rural App. Went to school just across the border at University of Pikeville.
Okay.
I went to play baseball there, and it's very close to where I grew up. It's only like an hour away.
Okay. Before you go further, what position?
I came in as a pitcher.
Okay.
But I ended up playing the corners because I had shoulder surgery my freshman year.
That'll do it.
And I had a redshirt year. And it honestly took me a little while to like learn how to throw a baseball again. Okay. But I could still hit.
Okay.
So anyways, I played the corners all of my college career.
Okay.
But I did get to pitch my senior year before I like hung it up.
Absolutely. That's all that matters. You had the college career.
Yeah, that was a dream as a kid.
Absolutely.
To like play baseball. I thought I was going to the major leagues, but that was, a false dream there.
You could still circle around and be a manager, switch, pivot again. So
yeah. So anyways, I went to University of Pikeville, still in rural Appalachia, and like Pikeville would be considered like a city to where I grew up. So Pikeville's, again, it's a small town. It's only a town of like 7,000 people, but it serves like 250,000 people because that's like where people go to like do stuff and work and things like that. So after college, and I graduated with a business degree with an emphasis in management and management information systems, and stuck around in Pikeville and sort of started my career there. And, I got a business degree because I like had no idea what I wanted to do after college. And I was like, business seems like pretty broad. Yeah. And I can do a lot of different things. Yeah. And I didn't know that I was a 7 on the Enneagram back then, but I know now that I'm a very much a 7. Yes. And I like to have multiple different things going.
Absolutely.
So I got a business degree out of just like it's a broad, I knew I did not want to do biology. I didn't want to do chemistry. Fair. My dad was a pharmacist. I grew up working in the pharmacy.
Oh, wow.
Did not want to be a pharmacist.
Got it.
But I was like, maybe I could do like the business side of the pharmacy and that may be how I can serve here. But ended up, doing something totally different. Fair. So I started my career there. I worked for like one of the major hospitals there, in the administrative side. So I worked in HR, and then I worked in contracts administration. Okay. And you know me now.
Yeah. How did we get from there to here?
So could you imagine me sitting in a cubicle from like 8 to 5 every single day for 3 years?
No.
Doing
that sounds like you'd be miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was very much miserable, but I knew that like back then I was like, this is a good starting point for my career. Yeah. It's a big hospital. Like this will be a good career move. It ended up being good. I learned a lot from that. I learned I hated it.
Fair. And that's a good lesson to learn as well. So,
so I reached out to the university and I was like, hey, is there anything, do you know of any opportunities that are coming available? because this is not working out. And they were like, yeah, we know this company that's looking to make an investment into Kentucky. They're from Nicholasville. The owner and founders from Ireland.
Oh, whoa.
It's an awesome story. Like, it's over $1 billion company.
Yeah.
And they're looking for somebody that graduated from the university to be in this position. And so the next week, I was in the founder's office,
Wow.
meeting with him and having an interview for this job.
Whoa.
I had no business being in this room. Like, I was not ready for this.
Yeah.
I was in my early 20s,
Yeah.
right? And I met with a couple other executives there, and I ended up getting the job the same day,
Wow.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It was lucky, just pure luck.
Absolutely.
Like, timing worked out and everything. And so I did that for the next 5 years.
Okay.
I was a project manager in the beginning, because the company was building a pretty significant project in Pikeville, Kentucky, that they wanted somebody to be sort of the face of, goodwill for the community,
Of course.
do all the development locally and stuff like that. So I was that person, and then it turned into more of a business development role for the company's products. And this company is called Alltech. And you might be interested in this because of your background, but it's a animal nutrition and crop science company
Okay.
that focuses on yeast-based supplements.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm following.
So for them to look cool in front of the farmers that they were selling their products to, they made beer and spirits with the same yeast.
Okay.
And so what was I interested in?
Of course, that side
Working
of
on the
things.
beer and
Yeah.
spirits side. So I worked on the fun side of the business
Of course.
for probably, I guess, the 4 years I was there.
Yeah.
But I was still
That
doing
is
the
such an
project.
interesting way to present your product or reel in,
Yeah.
I mean, interest. Wow.
And it worked. It worked. So like in the early 90s, that's when they started this
Yeah.
brand. They were making beer specifically first, and then that led to spirits, and then got on the bourbon trail and that kind of
Wow.
stuff. But it was like one of the best times of my life.
Yeah.
I learned so much. And I worked very closely with that founder still, because he very much cared about the community there.
Yeah.
Wanted to be a catalyst for economic development. It was a $30 million investment.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was a big deal. And he
of
wanted
course.
to like see it through. Unfortunately, the 5th year that I was there, he passed away. And that was a pretty tragic thing. And then things started like shifting within the company.
Absolutely.
And, I needed to find something different.
Yeah.
And
So not having that figure at the helm,
yeah.
things can kind of go awash real
Mhm.
quick.
And it was, there was like family in the business.
Yeah.
Like his sons, and there was like
Gotcha.
brothers and uncles, and like,
Yeah.
now they were making the decisions. Some were good, some were bad. Some
Yeah.
were like, I just needed to remove
Absolutely.
myself. It just
Yeah.
was
Find
different.
something new.
It was different. It was different. So after that, and all the while, I started a coffee company, a coffee roastery and a
Okay.
coffee shop. So like that was my first sort of like iteration of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And so I did that. And then there was this opportunity to work for this organization in Kentucky that was sort of like covering 54 counties in rural Kentucky. They were sort of like a community action collective community action group. I don't know exactly how you
Yeah.
would describe them, but we did a lot of different things for
Yeah.
economic development. And my role was to sort of start like a founder and entrepreneur ecosystem
Okay.
and support system for entrepreneurs, and to be a expert on the resources that were already available to businesses, because a
Okay.
lot of the businesses just didn't know what was available to them.
Yeah.
There was a lot of resources out there,
Absolutely.
and a lot of companies just like didn't know where to go.
Yeah.
And one thing I did a lot was host events and convenings. It's almost kind of like church groups, but within this sort of like ecosystem of
Absolutely.
entrepreneurship. It
Yeah.
was very much like a support system, getting people together,
Yeah.
having Sunday school, you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like
absolutely.
that kind of stuff. And so I did that for 3 years. And it was another thing where the executive director, I was very close with him. He left, things got
Yeah.
bad. And so I ended up leaving. And so when you're in rural Appalachia and you've already worked for some of the larger companies,
Yeah.
and you're really trying to advance your career,
Mhm.
it's like, what do you do? Okay.
Yeah.
You got to move away,
Uh-huh.
which Kelly and I weren't ready to move away at the time.
Fair.
So I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to become a full-time entrepreneur. I've been teaching all of these entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And like,
You've been showing other people the ropes. Why not just use the ropes yourself?
Yeah. Helping them like dream and do this full time and like, how do you keep it going and that kind of stuff. So, I started thinking about that and I was like, I think it's time in my life for me to like try this.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, I can always go back to corporate
Fair.
America
Absolutely.
somewhere. We might have to move, but we're going to
But you have
okay
to
with
do
that.
the try. Yeah.
Yeah. So I started Do Good Brands. And in the beginning, it was just straight ahead, like consulting with some of the relationships I'd already built. Like I've already worked in all these different industries,
Yeah.
a lot of different types of experience. So I started doing consulting work. I helped, the beginning was like helping this organization develop a high school entrepreneurship program.
Okay.
And then I worked for did business development for the largest craft beer distributor in Kentucky.
Wow.
And so I've done a lot of different things with this company. But now I'm sort of like very focused in what I do. And one of the reasons I'm sitting here now is because I work with a lot of faith based organizations. And that's kind of like where I'm putting my intense focus, because I just see that there's a lot of need there.
Yeah.
So that gets you up to speed here.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually. 3 years ago, Kelly and I moved here.
Okay.
I started the company in Kentucky and then we moved here.
Yeah.
Which meant that I had to give up a couple of those contracts because some of them were tied to where I was living. So I had to kind of like reinvent myself here.
And is that where the leap to more faith-based organizations came in, or?
Yeah. When I was I think it was like the second year of Do Good Brands, the guy that I was working with at this nonprofit in Kentucky that I was talking about, he had started this nonprofit wing of his church to convene other faith-based organizations across Eastern Kentucky, rural Appalachia, Kentucky.
Yeah.
And they needed some help with a conference that they were starting to get all these people together in one place.
Of course.
And so he reached out to me. He's like, I know you've done this for your coffee business. You've done this with us a little bit here at this nonprofit in Kentucky that we were working for.
Yeah.
I know you're good at this kind of work. Like, can you help us?
Absolutely.
And so that's when I started doing more like marketing and, design and video and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I hadn't really like committed to this is what my company's going to do yet.
Got it. Yeah. You were still in the early stages as an entrepreneur. Yeah.
You're so early and you're trying to like figure things out.
Find your niche
some people have a very clear track of what they are going to do and what they want to do. But for me, like I said earlier, I'm a 7. So like I wanted to try a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
And then figure out like where I really wanted this thing to go.
Yeah.
But I kept getting pulled into these like faith communities.
Yeah.
Right. So I started working for this faith community, still do stuff with them today.
Yeah.
Then I moved here, and this thing with First on Fifth sort of fell out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like,
it's wonderful when that happens.
Yeah. Kelly and I started coming to church here. We became members here. Then they posted a communications role. And my wife, Kelly, she was like, have you ever thought about like talking to Emily about this or anybody at the church? And I was like, not really.
Yeah.
But we're in this position like where I probably should and need to.
Yeah.
So I, called Emily and was talking to her about it. And she'll tell this story too. And she might already have on some of the episodes. But she had this like very vivid like dream about me being, in this kind of role. With the church when they posted the job.
Yeah.
And it just sort of like lined up, perfectly.
Absolutely.
And then it was kind of split into internal, external. You're doing some of the internal stuff and I'm doing the external stuff. And it's just worked out so beautifully. And I've been doing this now for First on Fifth for, I think over 2 years now. I think I'm 2.5 years in, which seems kind of crazy.
Yeah. Because it has to be about that, because that's around the time I joined, and you've always been in the back doing your thing since I've been here.
Yeah.
So,
and once I got here and started doing the work for the church, and I was doing the work for this other faith-based community, some other faith groups came to me because I was doing the work for here, and I just keep getting pulled into this work. And so, it's been an interesting ride.
Yeah.
But I now clearly can see like where what I'm supposed to be doing,
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a very long answer to your first question.
No, but I'm here for it. And it's also, everyone that we've interviewed for this series has their own stories, and each of those chapters means something and shapes who you are now.
Yeah.
Here, that it's important to share.
Mm-hmm.
Jumping over one of them, then you won't see the connect and how it makes sense. But it's interesting to see, just general business, thinking more management, kind of tapped into the healthcare side that you already had roots in, and kind of working with what your community had to offer to slowly making the transition to entrepreneurial spirit and embracing that, exploring what that meant for you, into now finding out really like what's that mission statement or why behind what you do, and being more, I guess, not intentional, because I think the work on each stage was intentional, but more targeted in who, you know what I mean?
Right.
You should be pulling in as clients and where you're best serving, you know what I mean, the larger community. So that is wonderful. So obviously, sharing your story, you touched on the many different hats you've worn, and it wasn't always ministry work you were doing, and you've focused in on even supporting that both through more of a business lens as well as in your own entrepreneurial adventures. So I'm curious, you may have a different answer than some of our other interviewees, but most people view ministry work as a calling or a vocation, rather than simply a career path or an area in which to focus one's career. As someone who works in ministry in a less traditional sense, does that sentiment still resonate with you?
Yeah. I probably have a different answer than a lot of guests. Maybe Chris answered it this way too, but like some people have a very clear, like I heard the voice of God type of thing. And I have sometimes trouble discerning like what is God and like what is like, that's just a gut feeling.
Yeah.
What is just like, it's luck.
Yeah. And or just like my feed is highlighting this for me over and over. Yeah.
So like, is it a calling? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's also like, I don't know sometimes.
Absolutely.
But what I do know is that I just keep getting pulled back into it.
Yeah.
And, something told me a few months ago, like you should be focused almost 100% right here.
Yeah.
And this is the work that needs to be done, because
Yeah.
one thing I've seen, and this, I might be getting too far ahead here, but one reason I started doing this here more and focusing on more of the churches like us is because there's a megaphone missing for a lot of progressive type churches, like
Absolutely.
for like us. And, we welcome all people. And when we say all people, we mean all people.
Yeah.
And a lot of churches don't mean that.
Absolutely.
They say all people, and then when you get here, we're going to judge.
There's
you.
an asterisk. Yeah. Absolutely.
And we're going to scare you into the love of Christ, which I don't, I don't really believe in that anymore, but a lot of trauma there. But I just kept, getting pulled back into these like faith communities and seeing that there really needs to be somebody that puts more focus on like these progressive voices, because mega churches and like evangelicals, they are very good at media, very good at it. And,
there needs to be someone in this corner doing that same good media work.
Needs to be somebody else and more, right? Like we do a good job of it, but there needs to be more churches like us that have a larger voice.
Absolutely.
So this like collective message is more broadly distributed.
For sure.
And, that's really like where my passion has sort of like pulled me into.
Yeah.
And like I said, I just can't tell if it's like, is that a calling, or is it like, it's just your gut?
Yeah.
It's just like you're very observant and good at figuring out like, solutions to problems. And so long answer to a short question, but I just have trouble discerning what that means.
Which, I think that resonates with most people. I know obviously people we've interviewed on this podcast, very much like you said, it is more of that auditory or, the language of calling was used even as they were discerning it. But obviously in the more abstract sense that you work within ministry, it's that language isn't always used. And also sometimes that language can kind of go to the wayside during deconstruction of one's faith. So totally makes sense. And I think or at least I hope many of our listeners will kind of resonate with that. Because I
Yeah.
think even in my own life, I resonate with, is that the calling, or
Right.
is this my gut pulling me in the wrong direction, or what's what? And kind of trying to decide and decipher can often be hard. So whether we call it a calling, gut feeling, or just like that tug, when did you first come to realize that tug or calling was to support businesses and entrepreneurial development of others through your own entrepreneurial focus and media focus within your Do Good brands?
Really start focusing on like media was probably during the pandemic.
Okay.
Yeah. So when did I leave my job in Kentucky? It was right before the pandemic. And so I started Do Good Brands at like a really sort of interesting time.
Yeah. As most people were closing their doors, you're like, let's get started.
Yeah, let's
So,
go. Let's go. We're closing businesses down. You're starting a new one. Good idea.
I mean, it seems to be working out pretty well for you. So,
It has worked out. But I think started like as I was working with people, I just noticed that one, I needed to diversify my company in a way that was like, I can't just like do these consulting jobs. I just don't know if there's enough of it.
yeah.
And then I'm looking over here and I'm seeing like, okay, there's a lot here that needs to be done.
Yeah.
You're very interested over here.
Yeah.
And then I just started getting really obsessed about it.
Yeah.
And maybe that was a calling, maybe not.
Yeah.
But it was like, you need to go learn this stuff so
Yeah.
you can provide service
Yeah.
to these people
Absolutely.
that really need help.
Yeah.
Because there's a talent gap for
Yeah.
one, service gap,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people that have like big marketing companies or whatever, they're not looking for small churches to
No. Yeah.
do work
They're looking
with.
for larger clients
Yeah.
that they're not focusing in on those small
Right.
businesses.
They're trying to get people
Yeah.
like Texas Pete and Krispy Kreme and
Yeah,
people
absolutely.
that have huge budgets.
Yeah.
Uh,
And especially at this pivotal time of no one knew really when was this going to end, and maybe
Yeah.
this is the new normal, and
mhm.
yeah, they were really looking for that and kind of
And one thing that stayed true, that people still crave community.
Yeah.
And I was trying to align myself with more folks like that,
yeah,
because I very much care about the work that I do and who I do it for. I've always been that way. And so whoever I do work with has to have a strong mission
Absolutely.
behind it. But I really got obsessed with media and marketing
Mm-hmm.
during the pandemic. Like, I mean, my business degree really has almost nothing to do with what I do now. I had one entrepreneurship class when I was
Yeah.
in college and no film and media.
Yeah.
So I watched a lot of YouTube,
Yeah.
listened to a lot of podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, hours and hours.
Of
you know.
course.
And I still do that. Like, I'm a curious person, like I
Yeah.
said, and a forever learner, and
Yeah.
always trying to get better. But it was almost like you need to learn this out of necessity, one,
Yeah.
but also you're getting pulled in this direction
Yeah.
from something,
Absolutely.
and that's where you need to be.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I even think, I mean, you may poo-poo the degree in business, but I would argue, like, hearing our discussions in our communications meetings, of it takes the lens of just like, rather than bombarding people with media, whether it be social media or, you know what I mean, podcasts or anything else, being strategic with it. You know what I mean, what's the right wording to catch people's eye, to get them to engage deeper, you know,
Yeah.
with our mission and the work we're doing to foster the community.
Yeah.
That I think those are assets that, you know what I mean, make you more than just a cameraman on a Sunday morning. You know what I mean? So, that I think that's important to highlight, you know what I mean, the work that often doesn't get seen on the Monday through Saturday that
Right.
you're doing around here.
Yeah.
So,
A lot of times I get called like the guy that takes photos or something like that.
Yeah.
You know?
yeah, and it's so much more
Which,
than that.
hey, you know what? Whatever. You know? Whatever. Call me whatever you want.
Fair. But still, there's a lot more, you mean, strategy in place that, you know what I mean, you're digging deeper into with every, you know what I mean, passing year in this role of how to, all right, I have my role down. How do I improve it? How do I make it better? You know what I mean, to reach larger audiences rather than just being happy with status quo. Obviously, you kind of touched on this in the answer you just gave, but whether it be your business degree or, you know, YouTube university degree, with all the media work, obviously both in different ways and forms have shaped your role here and have been vital to the work you're doing here at First on Fifth. But I'd love to hear more about how, like, you see either the two coming together or separately directly shape the work you're doing, both in our church, but also in the larger Do Good Brands work that you're doing in other ministries and nonprofits?
Yeah. So I think in college, I just really learned how, I don't know if it's like necessarily a degree or just like the college experience, like overall, but I really learned the art of like networking, developing relationships. I played baseball in college, and, became like the team leader for the last couple of years that I was there, and like, how you lead in that capacity in college. And I developed a really great relationship with like professors and stuff like that. And that like paid so many dividends like I just did not expect, because that's really how I got my job at Alltech, was because I kept that relationship at the university.
Yeah.
And if that relationship wasn't there,
Absolutely,
that experience for those 5 years that I was there would have never happened. And at Alltech, that's when I was really exposed to like other cultures and like other religions and people from all over the world. We had offices in like 130 countries, and so I got to travel a lot, meet a lot of different people. And that's when I got exposed to like a different thought process on things. And, growing up, although like there's a lot of trauma in the Southern Baptist culture I grew up in, but the community side of it was helpful to me, and how it shaped how much I love community and how much I crave community.
Yeah.
Like all the meals we had, the camping trips, like all those types of things. So like I feel like everything that I've done in my career has been shaped around like community in some way. And how can I, elevate the community? How can I be helpful to the community? How can I get this message out and, elevate the vision of it, in whatever capacity that looks like. And that just happens to right now be media. But there's also a lot of other things out there that,
absolutely,
other solutions to problems that still exist.
Yeah. So I'm curious, with this entrepreneurial journey, as well as, the various companies you worked for kind of before starting it, I'm curious, how have you answered this calling, whether it be, maybe the bigger support the community, or more focused approach to calling as it relates to media or ministry? How have you lived into that through the work you've done here and in other ministry spaces, and how do you hope and plan to continue to do so?
Yeah, like I said, I have trouble discerning what that is, but whenever I get that feeling, like I sort of sit on it a little bit, and if I keep having that feeling, like I'm just going to go do whatever that is.
Yeah.
And working in this faith community and figuring out more solutions to the problem that exists in the larger, like, progressive faith-based communities. Like, I keep getting pulled here, and something's pulling me here, whether that's God or, whether that's just like my gut, or is it luck, or, what is it? I just listen to it and I sit on it. And if I keep feeling it, then, I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll have a conversation with my wife, Kelly, with a gut feeling that I have. Some are just like, you should not be doing that. But if some dings, I can see it on her face.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay,
This is something to follow.
we can do this.
Yeah.
Or it's like, I don't know about that. Well, how about I explore it a little bit? And if it starts to work, then
Come back with a more baked idea.
right. So I'm very much someone that is curious. I ask a lot of questions, and if I have a gut feeling or if I see something, I'm very observant. If I see that there's some type of problem there, and if I can figure out how to solve it, I'm going to try to do that if that feeling is, in my gut.
Yeah. So I'm curious, obviously, that's kind of more the approach, I guess, to, that answer, and how you go about answering kind of these gut feelings and callings. I'm curious, what does that tangibly look like in your day to day? What's how is that sprouting up, both, in your work here, or the larger Do Good business?
Yeah. I think, my latest, like, curiosity over the last, 6 months, like, doing this work, I've noticed that there's a lot of, tech problems that churches deal with. I mean, we're getting ready to talk about a tech issue here in
Yeah.
a second. But also like how the churches are managing like their community, and also this other vertical of like entrepreneur service organizations that I help support as well. Like they all have communities, and everybody's trying to build a support system with the community that they serve, and they don't have the right tools to be able to do that. So I'm currently building a product right now that can help solve that problem. There's already products like that exist, but not the specific way that I'm building it. So that's kind of like where my curiosity has driven me, like right now.
Yeah, and kind of where you see kind of a possible sprout for you to
Yeah.
to foster continuing in the future.
And I
Yeah.
sat on the idea for probably longer than any other idea that I've had, because I was like, man, this is going to take like so much money to build. Like, I don't have this type of cash. Like,
Yeah.
how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
So I sat on it for a while, and now there's, products that exist that help it, make it a little bit cheaper for you to build things like
Absolutely.
this. At least like the MVP to like just get it
Yeah.
created.
Yeah.
And so the idea
Have a
goes
tangible,
from here to
something to show.
yeah. So I'm very close to having like an MVP version of the product built. And, having like real conversations about like,
Yeah.
making this a real thing, like with an organization that really could use it. So
Yeah.
that's
exciting.
that answer your question? I hope it did.
I think it did. I say it's interesting to see, kind of obviously, I think ministry has been a thread through your entire life, whether
Yeah.
it be, one that was a harder thing to swallow and had to be deconstructed to where you're at now. But then seeing how, you've engaged it both, just as a general church member, but then also
Yeah.
kind of tapping into this lens of business and management, recognizing like as much as, a church is a community, there is a business component, and how do we, raise up the voices of churches like our own, and kind of looking at different lenses of doing that, whether it be business or tech or media.
Yeah.
You're kind of playing around with all those ideas, but it kind of comes back to that same root focus, which is wonderful. And hearing that, you're touching in on it, both ministry, but also, that nonprofit more focused sector. And how often those two intertwine very closely, and can play off of one another, because many times nonprofits are funded by churches, and having the expertise in both, helps drive your focus and your ability to be that asset to the organizations you're supporting. So I think you answered it well, and it's fun to see, all these different threads through your story from talking today kind of come together into this moment, and kind of, how you see them braiding together, into the future story is really cool.
Yeah.
So now it's time for the hardest question.
Oh no.
My favorite one to ask, I always like asking it to people, and I'm grateful I get to do it here on the podcast. If you could tell your younger self one thing when starting this journey, whether it be walking across the graduation stage or starting your own business for the first time, what would that piece of advice be?
There's a lot of different ways I could probably answer this. I'll answer it in a non-business kind of way first. Like, I think I would probably tell my younger self first that, like, you can practice Christianity in a different way, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because the way I grew up was like, if you don't do this one thing, you're going to go to hell.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure that exists or not.
Big jump there.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. And so I think I would just say, you can express Christianity in a different way. And the main thing you should be doing is loving other people, no matter who they are, what they are,
Absolutely.
what their sexual orientation is. Doesn't matter. They're accepted. And, they were created in God's image.
Absolutely.
So that's probably what I would tell my younger self in that realm. But I think like my journey in business and my career, I mean, gosh, I've taken so many risks, but it probably would have told myself to take even more risk in my earlier years, like in my 20s, and probably traveled more. Because if I would have done that earlier, that probably could have opened me up to
Absolutely.
more opportunities. And like, you know, when I go other places, my brain is doing 1,000 things.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, so excited to go other places and learn from different people and cultures. And, I would probably say take more risks.
Yeah.
You know, life is short, man.
Yeah.
You know,
Just got to keep living.
just keep Livin. Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you got the reference. That's awesome. But yeah, and I don't know, I think that thread through both is the curiosity. You know what I mean? Exploring other cultures in like a business lens, of course, and expanding that network, but also being curious about the good book in front of you rather than, you know what I mean, taking it at face value of how it's being presented is, you know what I mean, just diving deeper into those questions, which I find is interesting. You're not the first person to say it on this podcast, and I think it's a good reminder for us all. So.
You know, if I, one thing in my like career journey, like if I would have left Pikeville and like, you know, right out of college and moved somewhere else and, you know, did another job or whatever, I would have never met Kelly.
She's pretty cool.
And I would have probably never have moved here.
Yeah.
And, you know, done work with this community. So like,
so thank you for staying where you were at because you're an asset. So.
Things have like sort of fallen, you know, into place.
Absolutely.
And it feels sort of like a divine thing, but it's like, is it, or is it luck or what? So
I say, I'd argue the divine that, you know, you just held on long enough at each of these roles to then, you know, mean perfect timing that this church was looking, or even, you know, mean held on to get that one extra tidbit of knowledge from a CEO or an exec. All of those things shape and, you know, mean tell your story. So that's wonderful. Well, thank you for telling your story today.
Thanks for having me.
It's been an honor, and thank you all for listening. We will be back with another episode soon, but we appreciate you for listening to us and enjoying hearing Ryan's story today. So
thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to go edit this now.
Woohoo.